I can't even imagine what it would be like for immigrants that are ripped away from their children, from their family.
Developing on the KRON4 Morning News, a protest erupts over the possibility of a former women's prison being used as an immigration detention center. We spoke with a former inmate about the abuse she says she suffered at that facility. Plus, this new sketch of the person Hillsborough police believes shot one of their officers. We have the latest on the search.
Young people are at high risk. If we can get good information out to them, we think we can prevent some tragedies from happening.
Plus, preventing fentanyl overdoses, how one North Bay family turned their tragedy into hope.
Now, live from the Bay Area's local news station, this is KRON4 News at 9.
Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us here on the KRON4 Morning News. I'm Stephanie Lynn. It's Sunday, March 2nd, and we continue our news coverage for you this morning with a look at the weather with Kathy Trafton. Hey, Kathy.
Hey, Stephanie. If you're thinking of going to the beach today, maybe put it off a couple of days because there is a high surf advisory in effect. Now, we have long period westerly swell supporting 20-foot breakers. Rip currents are a pretty good possibility. The sneaker waves may come in, could sweep you off the beach, and the rip currents could drag you out to sea. Not a good thing. You don't even want to walk on the beach, much less swim or actually surf. So put it off for a couple of days. When the winds die down and the waves die down, that'll be a good thing. Did I mention winds? Oh my, yes. Okay, right along the coastline already at this hour, gusting to 27 miles per hour. Watch the colors explode as I put this in motion. By this afternoon, we could be seeing wind gusts up to 36, 37 miles per hour, especially in Marin County, but across the entire Bay Area, it's really impressive. And the winds don't die down instantly when the sun sets. It continues overnight, especially right along the coast, and finally by sunrise tomorrow the winds really do die down, but they really linger, especially at the coastline tomorrow morning, Half Moon Bay. So here's the weather headline for you. First deal is the high surf advisory. That expires tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Also, it's mostly cloudy skies, it's windy, we have a chance of precipitation off and on throughout the day. Even thunderstorm chances, a slight chance, maybe in the afternoon, maybe in the East Bay, not at all a sure thing. Tomorrow is your day. If you're looking for some sunshine, hold on to tomorrow and also for next weekend, because throughout the week, work week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, precipitation is a possibility, but there's not a lot of it. That's the good deal. Temperature right now in San Francisco just made it over 51 degrees, and across the entire Bay Area, we're still in the 40s and 50s. Stephanie?
Kathy, thank you. A top story this morning, some East Bay residents are pushing back against a possible move to reopen the former women's prison in Dublin as an immigration detention center. This comes after Bay Area Congress members Mark DeSaulnier and Zoe Lofgren sent a letter to federal officials raising concerns about hazardous conditions and a history of inmate abuse at the facility. The prison closed in December, and they say it's not equipped to handle immigration detainees because it lacks the space for the legal services they'll require. They also point to the tens of millions of dollars needed to make it safe again. KRON4's Lindsay Ford has the latest.
No ICE in Dublin! No!
Community members, immigration activists, and over 20 coalitions in support of immigration rights collected in Dublin Saturday afternoon, along with a small group of Trump supporters. This all happening less than a mile away from the now closed FCI Dublin Women's Prison. Many fear it could turn into an ICE detention center. Drivers honking their horns in support of the abolishment of ICE detention centers.
I can't even imagine what it would be like for immigrants that are ripped away from their children, from their family, to go into a prison, the worst, horrific prison environment.
Kendra Drysdale is a former inmate at FCI Dublin. She tells KRON4 she lived under horrible conditions at the prison, like rats, contaminated water, and sexual abuse. She says FCI Dublin isn't fit for anyone.
As survivors do not want, and as a coalition, do not want to see anyone go through the abuses we went through.
An Associated Press investigation found a permissive and toxic culture at FCI Dublin, enabling years of sexual misconduct by predatory employees and cover-ups that have largely kept the abuse out of public eye.
Can I take a picture with you and my friend Carolyn?
Deborah Lee, a minister and member of Dignity Not Detention, a statewide coalition that works to prevent and shut down ICE detention centers, says immigrants deserve respect like any other U.S. citizen.
I've been with families who've actually lost loved ones who have died because of the kind of intentional neglect that happens inside immigration detention.
Leslie Swain showed up with their family in support of immigration rights. They say the FCI Dublin is a shameful reminder of the city's past.
I am so troubled by the prison industrial complex in terms of it being a vehicle to put people who are, less enfranchised down.
Swain says they want the city of Dublin to do better and that an ICE detention center would set the community backwards.
I'm so grateful that there are people like this who are organizing, and that we keep the hope, and that we do direct democracy, and we stop asking for permission and we shut this down.
In Dublin, Lindsay Ford, KRON4 News.
Police are still looking for the man who shot a Hillsborough police officer. The department sharing a new sketch of the person they believe is connected to the crime. Police say the man they're looking for is described as Hispanic, in his mid-20s and about 5 feet 5 inches tall. He is believed to have a pale complexion with black hair. The ambush-style shooting happened right in the police department's parking lot just last week. The officer was hospitalized and is expected to make a full recovery. Investigators hope people come forward with security footage from February 22nd, the night of the shooting. In Vallejo, 3 people were arrested in connection to beauty product thefts from multiple retail stores. The Vallejo Police Department says these are just some of the items the suspects are accused of stealing. Officers say they saw bags with the stolen goods in a park near Hans Park Disc Golf Course. Investigators say they found a month's supply of oxycodone pills and more than $1,000 cash. One person arrested had 2 prior theft connections. Another had a felony warrant from Placer County for allegedly stealing more than $100,000 from stores. Oakland's Board of Education voted to send out layoff notices to some staff at the district. They're faced with a $95 million shortfall for the coming school year. The board voted 6-1 Wednesday night in favor of the layoffs. Reading tutors, teaching assistants, program managers, and food service staff could be impacted.
It's a net loss of between 100 and 150 full-time employees, but there's a lot within that. We have some job classifications that are going from 12 months to 11 months. We have some things that we are eliminating. We're also adding positions.
$40 million in reserve funds will be used to help close the gap. Those funds will only be available for the coming school year. Rally outside a Tesla dealership in Colma Saturday called on people to cut ties with the company amid Elon Musk's involvement with the Trump administration. Protesters gathering on Junipero Serra Boulevard demanding people to sell their Tesla cars and stock to oppose Musk's influence over federal job cuts. This all part of protests nationwide against DOGE, or the Department of Government Efficiency. Rallies happening in cities like New York, Portland, Boston, and Dayton. In the North Bay, the community of Santa Rosa is mourning the loss of 2 teens who died from fentanyl overdoses. KRON4's Rob Nesbitt reports on the nonprofit working to prevent more deaths.
Charlie Turnan was a senior at Santa Clara University when he died of a fentanyl overdose. His parents, Ed and Mary Turnan, formed the nonprofit Song for Charlie in his memory, and to educate young people about the risks of drug use.
A lot of young people are dying essentially from a lack of information. So if we can get good information out to them, we think we can prevent some tragedies from happening.
Tragedies like what happened in Santa Rosa, when an 18-year-old man and 16-year-old girl were found dead from fentanyl overdoses. Friends and family have laid flowers and cards at Montgomery High School and Santa Rosa High School, where the 2 were students. Turnan says there are several tools to prevent another death, Narcan included.
Narcan is a no-brainer. Every student should have Narcan in their backpack. Every family should have Narcan in their medicine chest. It is a life-saving antidote to an opioid overdose.
Turnan says the current drug landscape is like a minefield full of risks. His first lesson for teens is to avoid the risk by not using, but knows that won't work for everyone. Traveling to about 4 schools a month to talk about things like fentanyl testing strips, Narcan, and sharing his son's story, who he thinks would still be alive today if he had the right drug education taught to him.
Young people are at high risk and are overdosing and in many instances dying because they're getting fentanyl unknowingly when they're looking for something else.
Rob Nesbitt, KRON4 News.
In the East Bay, if you're fed up with high egg prices, the Oakland Public Library has just the class for you. They're hosting 2 events teaching people how to raise backyard chickens. Well, farmers from Urban Farm Oasis will be at the branches on your screen at those times, also listed there to help get you started. And calling all Bay Area musicians and artists, the San Francisco Public Library wants to hear from you. You can now submit your music to be added to the library's Bay Beats. That's their local music platform. Music must be original. Interested groups must submit up to 3 tracks, no longer than 30 minutes total. Selected artists get $250. The deadline is May 31st. Still ahead on the KRON4 Morning News, a child thrown off a horse after a woman walks up to the animal and allegedly yanks on its tail. Plus, big problems with California's new bar exam causing panic among law students, why lawmakers are now calling for a full review.
We got a bird whistling in our ears, singing a song that's gonna hand us Smokey.
On the murders?
Dope. Enough to bury him. Let's roll. You in?
And he may be a familiar face if you like a good drama series. Up next, award-winning actor Rich Ting is in studio this morning talking about his latest projects. You don't want to miss it.